Good morning, everybody. Today it is overcast and it's sprinkling a tiny bit, but I received something really fun in the mail yesterday. I got some Egyptian walking onions. I have been waiting to plant these for a long time, and when I got them, I was actually expecting the top bulbils or bulblets, essentially the teeny tiny onions that grow on the stalk, but instead I received mostly onions that were already rooted, already sprouted, which is good because that means these should start growing faster. It just was a little unexpected, and it meant that I needed to plant them faster instead of waiting until Friday, like I kind of planned. Now, some of them did have some mold on them when I received them, so we'll have to see how it goes. I was supposed to get 10, and they intentionally included a few extra. But in case you're not aware, Egyptian walking onions are different than other onions because they will walk across wherever it is that you've planted them. Okay, so let me back up a little bit and explain. A lot of the yellow and red and white onions that we see in the grocery store make big bulbs underground or right on top of the ground, depending on the method that you use to plant them. And that's what you use as your food source. And then you've got the green onions, which sometimes are those same onions, sometimes they're other varieties, where you use them kind of like shallots. So you actually use the stem part of the onion. And then the white that doesn't really bulb out, it stays thin. You can use bunching onions for those as well, because bunching onions don't get a big, large bulb. They're just mainly the green shoot with a little bit of a, they might like puff out a little, but they're not going to make a big bulb like the others. Egyptian walking onions are unique even from those two because, as you can see, they don't make huge bulbs at the bottom. They're more like a bunching onion, but they send up the green stalk, and then at the top of the green stalk, they will create additional onions. So little tiny bulby type onions. Let me see if I've got some. So essentially you'll have a cluster of these little bulb onions around the top of one of the stems. Okay? It's kind of funky looking, kind of like a shallot, or kind of like now I can't think of it, on a garlic whenever it blooms. Okay, well, you know what I'm talking about. So once it gets those bulbils at the end of the season, it takes when that stem dries, it leans over, and those bulbils or bulblets that are on the top of the stem, when the stem leans over, those plant themselves on the ground, start new plants, and then it shoots up a stalk, an onion stalk, creates bulbets on the top of that, and it leans over at the end of the season and replants. And in that way, it walks because it keeps planting new. I think it's a really cool thing, and it is a way to have perennial onions. From what I've heard from people that grow them, they may still grow some other types of onions just for the flavor or for fun. But once you plant Egyptian walking onions, you really don't have to plant onions again because you should have them for a lifetime. Because they just reproduce so largely. Now, one of my coworkers asked, well, okay, so I get that they create little bulbils on top, but how is that different from regular onions? Regular onions will create seeds, and then the seeds start new plants. But these create the little tiny onions on the stems, and those tiny onions are what create your new plant. So I just think it's really cool. I think it'll be a good conversation piece, and I'm just really excited about them. So I think I'm going to plant them in this middle bed. We do already have some perennial plants in this bed. I may end up making this particular bed a perennial bed, and I'm going to put them on the end and give them room. Obviously, I can plant plants close to it this year, but next year I will be needing to give it more room as the plants walk and grow past their original space. Anyway, I'm going to get to planting before it gets to sprinkling too much. Garlic scapes. There we go. I got to it. It just took me a while. It makes the bubbles on the top of the greens kind of like garlic scapes do whenever garlic is about to bloom. All right. Glad I remembered, so I wasn't like thinking about it all day long. Hope y'all have a blessed day, and we will catch you next time.